Okay, great. Hello, my friends. I just went live, so you might not be on yet, but you're getting notified here in a few seconds or as I speak. Welcome to our interview today. And I don't know what's going on with me, but my eye allergies today have been bothering me. So you'll periodically see me just dapping my eyes because this one just has a river coming out of it today. But I'll keep my tissue close by and try to get through this as best as I can. Um, all right, so we are live. Okay, edit layout. No, I think this looks great. Can you actually see the blue background bordering that's going around our recording? You can see that. Okay, very good. All right. So, hello, my friends. Thanks for joining us today on another episode of the Immigrant Experience in America, where we amplify and humanize the experiences of immigrants living in the United States and other countries. We have today joining us Urmi Hussein. Hussein? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Welcome, Urmi. Please tell us a bit about who you are and where you're joining us from today.
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me. My name is Urmi, and I must say you pronounced it really well. You're probably one of the first one who actually pronounced my name correctly, so I want to thank you for that. And I am currently calling from Montreal, Canada. It's a sunny day. It's very hot. There is a heat warning. It's been humid for the past few days, and I have moved from Italy. This is the country where I was born.
Okay, so you moved from Italy and now in Montreal, Canada. Great. How long have you been in Canada?
It's been 15 years.
Okay, okay. So you can almost say you're Canadian, yes, or you're
Yeah.
very strong to your Italian roots.
Well, I am by law Canadian. I do have the Canadian nationality, but I'm very, very connected to my roots. Yes.
Okay, very good. So tell us a little bit about Italy. What is life like being born in Italy, and what was it like growing up there? Foods, culture, music, family gatherings. What is that like? Give us a sense.
Yes, so here's the thing about me. I am born and raised in Italy, and my parents are also actually immigrants. They have moved from Bangladesh to Italy, and then I was born. And life in Italy is pretty great if you are, I would say, a tourist. And if you're a citizen living there, it could be hard, but it wasn't hard when I was living there. Like I was born there, I grew up there, I lived there for about 19, 20 years. And I can definitely say that there is a big difference from the south and the north. Like I was born in the south, but I also lived in the north. So I was born in Sicily, then moved to Milan. And over there, there's a big difference between the south and the north. In terms of the culture and the traditions, it's very much family oriented. It's very much about gathering together every Sunday. It's about spending time, quality time with family and friends over a nice plate of pizza, enjoying coffee, drinking coffee, having ice cream, gelatos, spending time at the piazza. It's a very laid back, I would say, society, very much based on like doing things in a slow manner. So it's about enjoying every moment of it. And I would say that the best thing about living in Italy is the history, the art, and the food.
Good, good. So I heard gelato.
Yes.
We think pizza, pasta. Are those typical or
Yeah.
olive oil,
Yes.
olives?
Yes, very typical. You have, well, of course, pizza and pasta, but you also have salad. You also have, I have the words in French. It's this. You have seafood, you have fish, You everything that you eat is very much fresh. Like your tomatoes are fresh, your basils is fresh, your cucumbers are fresh. Everything that you eat is very much fresh, and then you also have like local fruits and vegetables like oranges, the zucchini leaf. So it's very much based on like eating healthy, eating fresh things. So it's very much based on the Mediterranean type of diet, basically.
Okay, very organic. Yes,
Yeah,
yes. As is a lot of, I think, cultures outside of the West. The West tends to want to industrialize,
yeah,
find a way to mass produce, and when you do that, then you lose the organic nature of things, and they get ultra processed and
yeah,
lots of additives and hormones and chemicals, and so very typical of like the Caribbean and Latin America, and I want to say like lots of places in Asia and Africa and continent and so forth. So yes, very good, very good. And so parents from Bangladesh, you were born in Italy and then now in Canada. So is there a story behind why you guys left beautiful Italy? Milan, you were in Milan and you left and went to
I know.
cold, cold
I
Canada.
know, I know, I know, I know, I know. It is cold. I know it is cold. It gets cold, and it's it's a challenge. It's a struggle. The winter here can be a real struggle, but I can definitely say that well, we moved around when we were like me and my sister when we were like little. We moved around a lot. Like I was telling you, we moved from the south to the north. We also lived for a year in the UK, so that also was another story which is part of my life. Then we came back to Italy and we were in Milan, but then what happened is I moved to Canada. However, my parents moved to the UK, so I moved in Canada for personal reasons. And yes, it was, I wouldn't say it was a cultural discovery. I don't want to say it was a culture shock because I feel like culture shock is a negative word. It was more like a discovery. Definitely, the weather has been a big struggle, especially because I would go to, let's say, when I would go out and I would go to university, I could really suffer under the -40, and I never experienced that. That was a very big struggle. And so it is nowadays, even though our winters are getting much, I want to say much less cold. There we go. They're getting less cold. They're shorter compared to before, but it could be exhausting, after going through 6 7 months of like winter. You're like, okay, I had enough of it. And literally I had enough of it. So I would say that was the biggest struggle for me. And definitely moving to Montreal, especially, like, the fact that it's a very French, like Quebec, it's mainly francophone, so you have to speak both English and French, and both languages were not mine to begin with. Like, I know how to speak them, but French is my fourth language and English is my third language. So the fact that I did my university in English and then and now working in French, it just shows that, like how much I adapted and how much everything became part of me, and it was not part of me to begin with. So that has been quite a journey.
Yeah, lots of growth. That's amazing. Your fourth language and living and operating with the third and fourth. And the first and second, I want to say, is it something native to Bangladeshi and then Italian
That's
second?
right. Bengali and Italian. That's right.
Oh, so it's not, it's Bengali. That's right, right? Not, is that the Bengal, is that the capital?
The capital is Dhaka.
Dhaka. And then, why do I feel like is there a city in India named Bengal called Bengal? Or Bengali. Maybe it's in my it's in my memory, but I'm twisting out whether it's the name of an actual language
Uh,
versus if
there
it's the
is,
name of a
I
place.
think there is something called Bengal, but I don't remember what, and I don't want to say something that is not accurate. But yeah,
Yes,
there is
okay.
something.
Right,
Yes.
right, right. Okay, so Bengali, not Bangladeshi. I'm self-correcting for those who of you might be like, what is she saying? We'll get that corrected in the editing phase of it. So, beautiful. So, what has that journey been like for you? Did you actually learn English in Canada, or you took it in school when you were growing up in Italy?
Yeah, I learned it when I was in Italy. I learned English and French when I was in Italy. It was part of my school curriculum. And so when I moved, I knew how to speak English pretty well. So that was my main tool to speak to people. And when it came to French, it was, I learned it before coming to Canada, but here they speak the Quebecois, which is more I would say it's a more like French from Quebec. It's not French from France. So they have different accent. They have different pronunciation. They use different expression for certain things. So that was a little bit of a challenge for me because I would tell people, yeah, yeah, no worries. I know how to speak French. I know how to communicate and everything. But then when I would speak to people, I would struggle because there was this huge difference in the accent and pronunciation. For that, I had to pretty much like work on my conversation. I had to work on practicing my speaking until I was comfortable enough to be able to land a job where I just have to speak French. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Wow. And that's a an experience and a journey in itself. Like becoming fluent in a language and being immersed into it and practicing and the frustrations and all of that. Um, my
Yeah.
goodness. But congratulations. You're definitely the third culture person, and
Yes.
you're already a third culture kid, but you've now added another layer. Having moved to a second country, right? And then the influence of Bangladesh from your parents' side, I'm sure, right?
Yes.
And then your parents are in the UK, so that's also another cultural influence as well, I can imagine. Do you have other families in the UK?
Plenty. Plenty of people in the UK, but I don't like besides the fact that they live there, I don't have a connection to like with the UK. I am not able to associate it or add it to anything that is in relation to my identity. Like I only consider myself Italian Bengali, and I say I live in Canada. I do have the Canadian citizenship, but I'm not. I never go around and say I am Canadian because I don't feel it yet.
Right. I get that. I totally get that. Um, so what is Canada like for you? The adjustment as outside of the language and the frustrations and learning it, and now you're comfortable. And not even necessarily just English. You went to Montreal where you actually have the French influence and now have to learn that. What was that like being in Canada?
Well, let me tell you, there is a big French like influence in Montreal for sure. Like you can see people, selling croissant, drinking coffee, very much like the European type of style. So Montreal has that European vibe when you come to this city, unlike other places such as Toronto, for instance, which has, I would say, more of a New York type of vibe. But Montreal has it has a very big European vibe. Like especially when you go to Old Port, you can see how much it resembles Europe because of the way streets are made, because of the way monuments are. There are churches there and things like that. So it is very very European, and I would definitely say that there is a big difference between how Montreal looks in the winter and how it looks during the summer, and it's pretty
Mm.
drastic. Like you wouldn't even think it's the same city. That's how big is the difference between the winter and the summer. Because in winter, of course, like unless you love winter activity, there isn't usually much to do. Like you can go for skating, skateboarding, skiing and stuff like that, which is great, but you have to enjoy winter. And but in the summer we just have so many things going on. Like we have festivals every week. We have food festivals for in that come from different cultures. So we have, let's say, the Asian festival, then we have the Caribbean festival, let's say you have the Japanese one, you have the Korean festival. So every week there is one. You have the Italian festival, and then the other thing which is also very popular in Montreal is basically doing happy hours after work, which are very very big. We call them 5 à 7, which means from 5 to 7. So those are pretty
Uh,
big in Montreal. We also have the beauty of Montreal is that there are a lot of like communities, so like if you move to Montreal, like you will never feel alone, because you have, Little Italy, you have Chinatown, then you have, they call it Little Maghreb, which is made of like people from Morocco or other countries. You have like Little India and stuff like that. So every time, like if you move to Montreal, you will not feel alone, because there is community. You will have that sense of belonging, which is nice. And what I notice about Montreal is that everyone in Montreal speaks at least 2 to 3 languages, which for me was uncommon, because coming from Italy, everyone pretty much speaks only Italian. And so people are very much I want to say they're very much educated in that sense. So
right. Very beautiful. I need to visit. I've heard great things. I've heard great things. I did French in school. Our little one is doing French. So we need to we go to Toronto because of family connection, huge Caribbean community in Toronto. So that's pretty popular in for a lot of people to go. Very easy trip from the US to go to Toronto, but Montreal is a little further. I want to say I don't want to. I think it's north. Is it more northern in the country, or is that?
it's
And
closer to New York City, if it helps. It's 6 hours away from New York City.
oh, 6 hours. Okay, so it's further than Toronto. It sounds like to me because we drove from Toronto area to Niagara Falls, to
Okay.
the border, and I think it was a few couple of hours to get there. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
Montreal and Toronto, they have 6 hours of car ride.
from Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit further than where we've been. So no, we definitely want to consider visiting and seeing the culture and
Yeah.
experiencing it at least once. So awesome. So tell us a bit about Udemy and what do you do? What professionally, what do you do outside of any main profession? What tell us about Udemy?
Yes. So I work in finance. It's my 9 to 5 job, a job that I really much enjoy. It's what I have studied for, but I also like to say that I have a 5 to 9, which is the time I use to dedicate towards my passions. I'm very passionate about different things. Most of them are related to self development, self growth, and also women's empowerment. So I am part of different organizations, one of them being Women in Leadership, where I am the social media lead for the Victoria chapter. And basically, the whole purpose of the organization is to help women in the community to feel empowered and to climb the corporate ladder. So basically, my job is really to promote the work that we do. We have events going on, we have webinars related in relation to public speaking, LinkedIn, everything in relation to career. And it's been something that I've been doing for the past 2 to 3 years. And the other thing that I very much enjoy doing is mentoring. And I mentor pretty much female women of color, especially because I feel like as myself being a woman, I feel like I we can all relate better when you are mentoring another woman. And mentoring has been something that I've been doing for the past 5 years. It's something that I very much enjoy because not only my mentees learn from me, but I also learn from them a lot, especially because I always say mentoring is not about a title. It's more about an exchange of ideas. And so you as a mentor, you can learn as much from a mentee as much as they learn from you. So that those are the two things I've been doing. And then I work a lot on myself. I'm a big reader. I work out a lot. I am part of the Toastmasters Club, which is a non-profit organization where you get to practice public speaking. And I am also a YouTuber and a self-published author.
Okay, awesome. A lot. You're a busy young woman. Um, okay, so where do I go? Self-published author. Drop the name of your book. What's the name of your book?
It's called Discovering Your Identity, a rebirth from interracial struggle.
Interracial struggles. Okay. And then you're a YouTuber. So what's the name of your channel? We'll get all the details, of course, but just through the conversation.
It's called Urmi Hossain. It's just my full name.
And I know you have Stories Beyond Borders.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about that.
Yes, it's a podcast that I wanna launch in a couple of months. So there is a like now it's in the preparation mode. I started to work on it, gathering guests, and basically the whole purpose of this podcast is to be able to give a platform to people to share their immigration stories, but also their stories of being third culture kid, being exposed to multiple cultures. Because me and myself being one, I was invited to many podcasts to share my stories, but I want to create a platform where I give the chance to other people to also tell their stories and to be part of a community. Because I feel like when you are going through, let's say, immigration stories, understanding your cultural identity, sometimes you feel this journey can be lonely, but when you put yourself out there, you realize that there's a lot more people like you. So that is something that I've been working on, and hopefully I'm going to launch it soon.
Okay, all right. Well, best wishes with that. I hope you do get to launch it so we can hear more about these stories and add more people to the conversation, right?
Yeah.
And okay, so you're a mentor, you're with Toastmaster, you do work full time, you're doing your YouTube Stories Beyond Borders. Um, Tell me a bit about how you got to be involved in the line of work with the book and the Stories Beyond Borders. Like, what was your journey getting to, you've been influenced by several cultures. So, what was your own personal journey?
Yes. Well, for me, like when I think about my book, it was self-published, and it was self-published about 3 years ago. And the reason why I created the book, it was because I was invited to many podcasts and people wanted to hear my story. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and write about my own story. And for me, writing my book was pretty therapeutic because it's just about myself. It's sort of like a memoir because I'm basically talking about my own childhood and teenagehood. And in the book, I make a comparison between, my Italian side and my Bengali side. I make a comparison and contrast between the two cultures, how similar they are, but also how different they are. And when I wrote that book, I was very much inspired by another self published author. And I reached out to her and I said, okay, what was the process? How did you write this? And then she explained me a little bit. So, and then I went ahead and did that. And with Stories Beyond Borders, it was pretty much the same thing as well, meaning that I think I always wanted to create a podcast, but I wasn't sure if it was the thing I wanted to do. But I realized that how much I enjoy, being a guest and speaking to people. So I was like, you know what? I want to create something that it's mine, that it's my own creation, and go ahead and tell people that I created this without anyone's help. And so that's how I came about with that idea, Stories Beyond Borders. And I think stories really make people connected. It's when someone is sharing a story, you feel relatable. So that's why I created a podcast.
Yeah, no, it's an exchange of stories, and it's an exchange of learning, information, cultures. There's so much. I've learned so much since I've been doing this. So glad I stepped out, and I've met so many interesting people. It's a great,
Yeah.
it's a great way to meet people and to learn if you're wanting to just expose yourself to the rest of the world.
Yes.
Um, okay, so is there a community of like I want to say, I don't know, am I incorrect in saying Bangladeshi?
No, you're not incorrect.
Okay, because I almost wanted to say Bengali people, but that's the language. Is there a community where you are in Canada, or are they mostly in US? Because I know someone from a previous workplace from Bangladesh, but I don't know very many, and it's hard to distinguish, right? Because most people from that, is it considered South Asia?
Yeah.
Most people from the South Asian part of the work kind of they look similar. It's kind of hard to differentiate, but I'm sure you guys know each other based
That's
on how
right.
you speak, culture, and self-expression. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, no. Let me tell you this, we are everywhere. Everywhere. So no, there is a community, big community in Montreal. There's one in Ottawa. There's one in Toronto, Calgary. We're pretty much everywhere. There is a big one even in the States, no matter where you go. In Italy, in UK, UK probably has the biggest one. You have people in Australia. You have people in Spain. We are everywhere.
mm.
Everywhere. Yes.
And just a bit about the country. Like, how large is Bangladesh population? If you're able to even talk
I
to me a little, give people a sense of how big the country is, and how do we differentiate you from saying an Indian person from, like, country India, not like Native American, but India. Or say there's Pakistanis, there are several other countries in the area. Like, how do we differentiate you per se?
So to answer your question about how big is Bangladesh, I don't know. I don't know the fact. It's not something that I went and look into. It's a small country, but it's very, very densely populated. So we do have a lot of people. And to answer your question on how to differentiate each other, it's pretty difficult for someone who's not South Asian to differentiate us. Yes, because I can somehow tell when someone is Bengali, but not all the time I'm able to guess that correctly.
Mhm.
Like just by looking at the person, I cannot guess it, especially because it depends if the person, lives in the States or lives in Canada. And now we also have people who are like pretty much mixed. So it's even harder to know where someone is from. Typically, like people from India, they speak Hindi, and
Yes.
people from Pakistan, they speak Urdu. So that it's a nice hint. It's a good hint to figure out where someone is from. People from Pakistan did wear the same clothes as us, but their style is different. So you know when someone is from that part of the country. And also the food. Like people in Bangladesh, we eat a lot of rice and fish. And let's say people in India, they eat a lot of like bread with veggies and like veggie curry. So it really depends. You can't always guess it just by looking at the person.
Okay, great. I actually just looked away on my cell phone to look it up.
Yeah.
It says as of 2023, the population of Bangladesh is 171.5 million people. That's a lot, right? The US, if you put it into context, is about 300 plus million, right? And then it says Pakistan is 247, India is way more than that, right? They were named the most populous country,
Yeah.
the most populous country in the world. I think in 2024 they passed China, over a billion people.
Yeah.
So, which is what, when you say a billion, is 100? Is it 100 million? Right. I'd have to look at the zeros, but it's basically, it's a lot of people. Like, so it's at least three or four times the US, several times Bangladesh, which is 171 million.
Yes, a lot of zeros.
Yeah, that's a lot of people compared to like where I'm from Jamaica. Is the last time I checked, I think it was like 5 point something million, and it was growing. Very small compared to like
Yeah.
Bangladesh. You would get
Yeah.
lost.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. So of course, so the language is one differentiation, the way you dress, the things, the food that you eat, and so forth. Okay. And is it typically like there's so many different religions that are over that region? Is it Muslim? Is it Hindu?
No,
Is there a Christian influence? Is it a mixture? You can find mixture in many countries across the globe.
I would say it's predominantly Muslims, but you also have minorities, but it's predominantly a Muslim country.
Okay. All right. Good
Yeah.
to know. Okay. Okay. And then India, there's a lot of Hindi people in India. There's Christian influence and other different subsets
That's
of
right.
practice in the country as well.
Yes.
Um, okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All
And
right. So go
and if
ahead.
I could add one last thing, we were one country back in the days. Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. Yes.
Oh,
We were,
interesting. And then
yeah,
it broke apart.
that's right. So basically the first what happened is we were one big country. We were under the colony of the British, and then there was India got its independence in 1947, and then Pakistan and Bangladesh were still together. They had a civil war, and then in 1971, Bangladesh got its independence.
Interesting. Thank you for
Yeah.
that tidbit. I didn't know the history. The only thing I know is often I hear the conflict between Pakistan and India over Kashmir,
Yes,
right? And
that's
it
right.
calms down, and then there's issues, and then you don't hear about it again. Of course, we don't easily get international news here in the US. You have to go seeking it out, right?
That's right. Yes,
So, but from my past interactions and exposure, I know Kashmir is a big deal between the two countries.
that's right. Yes, which is still going on, unfortunately.
Yes, right,
Yes.
right. Yeah, okay. So I wonder, you're in Canada, your parents are in the UK. Do you have siblings?
I have a younger sister.
Okay, okay. And also probably born in Italy, since you were born in Italy, right?
That's right.
What is your parents' experience? Do they talk about what it was like coming from Bangladesh and adapting to Italy? Like, what is their immigrant experience? I always love to hear for the first generation immigrants, like, and now you're a first generation immigrant to Canada, but they were first generation to Italy. Like, what was that like for them?
So they don't really speak too much about it. It's not a conversation that we ever had at home, but I can definitely say that it was for them. It was really starting from the scratch. It was really starting from the scratch because like that's why I feel like if I have to make a parallel comparison between my immigration story and their immigration story, like I start already from something. It's not from zero. I can move anywhere in this world and have no issues. But for them, it was really starting from the scratch because they didn't even know the language. They didn't know anyone at all. It was just, going to a complete foreign land and starting from zero and
Mm.
understanding, learning the language, making connections, finding a job, learning how to drive and things like that. So that's the only thing that I pretty much know. It's never a conversation about, how hard it was. I can only imagine it was really, really hard, but they were able to, integrate themselves really, really well. Because then what happened is my parents were one of the first ones who moved to Italy. Then my dad brought his brother, and then from there, like, other Bengali people started to come to Italy. So it was it was sort of like a chain that started from him. And he's really well known in the society, in the community, so people will go to him if they had questions about, like, oh, I don't know what's written in this paper, can you help me translate it? So he was, I would say, the point of reference in a way.
Hmm. Very good. Yeah, you do find that in a lot of communities. People who've been there longer will help each other fill out paperwork. I've done it so many times.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Advising on things, just every day, figuring things out. That's really big in the immigrant community, which is important to help those who are new to the place kind of find their way, right? But interesting. So, like, interestingly, you find that a lot with the older generation. They don't really talk about that, and perhaps they don't really have the words or the language to. They know something is different. They might be experiencing it in their bodies, but they oftentimes don't have the words to explain or have the conversation about like what's going on.
Yeah.
They might even complain about things like how different it is. They can't find the food that they like to cook with, how challenging it is to learn a new language. The work ethic is different. They might, talk about those things, but that's right. They usually don't go into very deep conversation about their own internal
Yeah.
sense about what's going on. So, yeah. Um, do you guys, are there any cultural clashes or struggles for you, based on their cultural expectations of how you carry yourself? Are you allowed to date? Like, what are some of those clashes that happen between the first generation and then when they have their children abroad?
There are a lot of clashes. A lot of things are changing, I would have to say. Like you mentioned, dating. Yeah, there was a big no during my time. It was pretty much forbidden. Actually, this was even forbidden during my parents' time. Like, you would marry whoever we chose. That was the type of rule back in their days. And yeah, dating was not permitted. But now also things are shifting in a different way. Um, Now, yes, you can date, but it's better that we do not find out. And then when it's time for you to get married, you can introduce us who you've been dating. So they prefer that you choose yourself the person, because it's been really hard to find someone to match you, like, for a potential marriage, like an arranged marriage, has been really hard. So now it's acceptable, but it's better that we don't find out about it. And then there is this other thing called it's called the biodata, which is a typical, like, it's basically like a resume, like a curriculum, like a CV that you give to a
Mhm.
potential candidate. And then if there is a match, then you'll do the initial meeting. So it's sort of like looking for a job. So now what happened is a lot of arranged marriages or marriages are being done through biodatas, where each family distributes the biodata of the daughter or the son to potential, like, candidates. And then if things are matching, then you have the initial, meeting, and then from there you can see if something can happen.
Wow, that is interesting. I like this whole idea of the biodata, but it's interesting too that they don't want to know who you're dating or seeing until like you guys are serious. That is quite interesting. Wow. Um, I'm one of those people who take to like a blend of the worlds. Like, for example, being able to date and get to know someone, but also having your family and I think your community involved in the process, because I think once you kind of fall for somebody, you can't see clearly anymore. And so
So
you
true.
also need your family and community to help you see clearly, to say, is this person a good match? Is this family going to fit with our family or community? Is it a good match? So I like the idea of blending it, but this is interesting to formalize the process where you guys actually pass like a resume or a CV, or with somebody and you see like professionally what you bring to the table,
Yeah.
what your likes and interest, and wow,
Yeah.
that's kind of neat. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
How has it been playing out? Any stories?
Um, yes and no. I mean, I don't know. There was a TV show also on Netflix. I don't know if you watched it.
Oh, tell me,
Yeah,
tell me.
it talks about it. It's called the Indian matchmaking.
Oh, I'm gonna look it up. Okay, so
Yeah,
it's from the Indian side of things, not necessarily Bangladesh.
I don't know from where it started, but everyone seems to use it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can watch that one and you can see there is an auntie, we call her, and she has like bunch of like biodatas and resume. And then she looks at them, she analyzes them, and then if there is a match based on interest or something like that, then she gives a call to the family and then she's like, oh, there is a match that I found. Should we do the first meet up and see how it goes from there? It's,
Okay.
yeah.
I often wonder, do people ever decide not to move forward once the introduction is, because it seems such a big deal, like you bring the families together, the two people together, you go through all that formality, and then it seems like, okay, you have the blessing to move forward. Does it immediately move into marriage,
No,
or
no.
there's a season of getting to know each other in the
Mm.
modern sense, like the US Western type of way?
So it depends. Usually, so if you're talking about right now, let's say the initial families do the first meetup, they see if, the two people clicked, and then from there, you get to know the person. But usually, you get a lot of pressure, like after 2 months to get married to this person, because if you keep seeing them, then it's like, oh, maybe it's going to work out. But like, it really depends. Sometimes after the initial meetup, things do not work out and nothing happens. And some other times, if there is an interest, then you get to know the person. But chances are that after 2 months, you'll be told, okay, when are you getting married to this person?
Wow, that's very
Right.
fast. 2 months?
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Wow, wow, wow. Well, I suppose if the families are introduced and somebody kind of formally make sure that certain things are matching up and expectations from both sides are, I guess some of those big questions are probably already answered and in place. So I guess you're able to make a decision once you guys click. Yeah, that's actually quite kind of interesting too. Maybe I'll share it with our little one when she gets that age in another 10 plus years as we are faced with that. But it's so interesting, I think, on the side of the world, kind of getting people matched up
Yeah.
and marriage. It's so different from the rest of the world, and you can get lost, and a lot of people can get hurt, and things go really sour, I think, in this space
Yeah.
because a lot of times people are so there's a lot of silence around it.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not well managed, I think, because I think the older people from their traditional way of handling things, they oftentimes are they don't know what to say it, how to discuss it. They're little children. They're what they see as little children, but we eventually grow up. They just don't know how to manage that
Yeah.
part of their children moving on, going into marriage and all of that. So it can become very awkward
Yeah. No, no,
in a
no,
lot
definitely.
in a lot of communities, very awkward.
Yeah.
Wow, that I find that so intriguing, the whole matching thing. I wonder what the success rate is, and are people happier with this type of matching that goes on, and do people stay married? Are divorces high? Is there high rates of divorce? And yeah, and do people actually decide not to move forward after like 2 months of getting to know each other? They decide, okay, we're not the best match. Like those things.
Yeah, you do have that scenario where, like, if things do not work out after 2 months, things do not work out. You also have people who are willing to go through this process because maybe they were not able to find someone on their own. So that's why they're open to go through this biodata type of process. There are marriages that were successful, and there are also divorces that were not successful. but you can also have a love marriage and end up in a divorce. So it goes both ways at the end of the day. Like
Mm,
it's not that it's just because it's biodata and you think it's not gonna work out. It's not like that.
okay,
Yeah.
interesting, interesting. Another angle that I'm intrigued by is how do parents adjust coming from, like, say, an Islamic background where to the general public seems very conservative when it comes to dating and marrying and things like that, and especially like a daughter
Yeah.
venturing in like the Western way of doing things. Like, what is that like? How do you guys transition? Do they actually change, or do they have the very same expectations of the culture from, the country they're coming?
No, and also I want to stop you for a second because I don't know how long we're recording for. Is it until 2:30?
I see here it says 45 on my screen since we've been talking, but I'm about to wrap up. Yes,
Oh,
because we started a few minutes later.
okay, because my calendar is only showed 30 minutes, so I wasn't expecting to go this much over.
Ah,
Yeah, that's why
okay.
I was a bit confused, and I just want to make sure that we're not
So the
going over
recording
too.
is being done on my side. Um, but the initial is a 30-minute session on the Calendly, but there is room to go over a little bit, say roughly
Okay.
15 minutes or so. Mhm.
Okay, just to make sure because I only booked 30 minutes, I didn't book an hour. So
Okay.
I'm lucky that I did not have a call, but I typically have a lot of things back to back
Right,
and
right,
30
right,
minutes. Yeah.
right, right. Yeah, yeah, I'm just going with the flow with you. If you had stopped me, I would have stopped at the 30-minute mark.
All good. So I can just answer this one. So for yeah, for Muslim daughters is a bit complicated. If you are a daughter and if you're Muslim, there's always so much hurdles, I would say, because as a Muslim woman, you're not supposed to be doing certain things. But I would say that again, as long as you date and you don't tell anyone and you stick to this one person, I think everything is fine. Like they would rather prefer that you choose the person yourself rather than, being at a certain age and not having anyone and then your parents going through this hustle of finding someone. But of course, you being a daughter, you will always get a lot of pressure to get married, a lot of pressure, and we are taught that our only objective and achievement in life is to get married.
Okay. No, I
Yeah.
wonder, do people change as they come and live in the West? How does the West influence people? But that's interesting. Okay, okay. All right, so let's we're gonna wrap up now. Thank you so much for your time, but I was always intrigued. Tell us how, I'll leave the next few minutes for you to tell people how to find you online, how to connect with you, and anything that you're doing in the near future. Talk about your book, whatever. The floor is open to you.
Yes, so I do have actually I do have a YouTube channel called Urmi Hossain. I have my LinkedIn account called Urmi Hossain, and if people want to buy my book, it's available on Amazon, which is called Discover Your Identity: A Rebirth from Interracial Struggle. And if people want to find out more about the work that I do with women in leadership, they can just go online and type Women in Leadership Foundation Canada, and they can find out more about the work that we do.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much, Urmi, for joining us today on the Immigrant Experience in America. We're pleased to have you share your story, and it was a pleasure learning from your view and your side of the world.
Thank you.
Just stay on here. I'm going to end the stream.